Good morning. Why do I need to admit people? I shouldn't be admitting people. It should be automatic. Let's see. Invite, share.
Was people. And I met NLP when I was 16 back in China. And then it took me another 12 years to get it back. And now I'm full on back. So I do the same thing. I coach and I teach NLP. And very excited to meet all of you and share what we learn with you. And I hope you're also very excited about NLP because this is it. This is really, really exciting. And I hope we can share the excitement with you.
Cool. Thank you, Ariel. And you want to introduce your guests?
Yes, I have one guest today. Her name is Nina. And she just graduated from fashion design from Washington State University. And she has a little bit, uncertainty about what her future is and what she wants to do for her future. So that's what drawn her into NLP because it's a field where you can really get in touch with your unconscious and find out what you want to do with your life. So she's here with us.
Great. Hi, Nina. Welcome.
Hi.
Excellent.
Hi.
Hi. So
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay.
Yes. So do you want to share with us what is one thing that you want to take away out of you being in this weekly webinars learning about NLP?
Oh, okay. Actually, I heard about the NLP just when I meet Ariel, and it's the first time I know it's something like an NLP in the world, and I'm really interested in NLP. That's because it's really interesting. Like we can control our mind and healing our mind and doing something powerful than our thing. So yeah, that's what I want to know. Like what NLP it is. And yeah.
So you want to learn about how to able to conquer your mind and be able to heal your mind. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, you're at the right place, Nina. So welcome. I got Mark. Do you want to introduce your guests and then your guests? What do they want to get out of this training?
I'm having a hard time seeing the other participants for some reason. My screen is not.
We got Himanshu and we got Daniel. I think those are your guests.
Okay. I'm not sure about Himanshu. But Daniel, hi. I saw him the other day and, he's got some really great goals for himself, really doing well at school. And we did a little bit of a pain paradigm exercise and got him feeling good. So
great. Daniel, what do you want to get out of this training? Unmute yourself. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you go. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Hey.
What I want to do is I just want to get out of my head and kind of be a little more. And I've been fighting a lot of anxiety. I just want to have a better relationship with my anxiety so I can, be the best version of myself.
Great. We are in the right place, Daniel. Mark told me a lot of great things about you. We are very excited working with you. So let's see. We got Himanshu, Medina, Melissa, Xavier. What do you guys want to achieve and accomplish? Something in your life that will make a difference for you, have you to be here on this webinar?
Hi, good morning. I'm
Good
Medina.
morning.
Hi. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And I'm hoping to learn how to deepen my understanding on how to self-heal and to guide others to help them self-heal. So I think the overall need or desire is healing. And in any way, opening the heart space, deepening connection with myself, deepening connection with those who I love in my life, and really understanding and obtaining some clarity about who I am, my beliefs, and how I can be really active in my life to have the absolute amazing life that I want. So thanks for having me.
Of course, you're welcome, Adina. I know you are a fantastic coach. You do ecotherapy and you do coaching on diet. And I know I'm learning a lot from you and benefiting from your teachings. And I know how much this would help you in deepening your level of transformation in people that you could cause in people's lives. So thank you for joining us. As far as I know that you're also in the NLP practitioner certification. At the end of the month, for the 5 days, you're going to be with us. So this is part of your pre-study to learn more about NLP, so that you can be ready with everybody else walking into the certification. So thank you for trusting us to be your guide on the side, not the sage on the stage, like they say. And help you to move forward and deepen your level of skills and tools and mindsets in transforming people's lives, their health and their well-being, because that's what you're great at. So let's see. Melissa, Xavier, Himanshu, anything that you guys want to share with the group as far as why you're here? What is it that you want to learn?
So my name is Melissa, and I actually, I met Mark on a retreat. And so what I got from NLP, I'm actually a recent graduate. I'm a social worker, and I just graduated with my MSW. So I found that some of the principles of NLP are very similar to some of the therapeutic interventions that I currently use with my clients. So what I want to get out of this is another way that I can help my clients help themselves. So I thought that it would be really great for me to have another tool, another therapeutic intervention tool under my belt. So like I have, like I'm certified in a lot of other things like CBT and acceptance and commitment therapy, trauma-focused CBT. So I thought that it would be really great to be able to be certified in something else that could be a great intervention tool in helping clients and future clients. So I was really taken back by how powerful NLP was, and by how similar some of the psychological components of it and some of the interventions and the ground rules and the belief systems were. So I thought it was really very powerful and very moving. So that's why I decided to join.
Thank
cool.
you.
Glad you made it, Melissa.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for being here, Melissa. Yes, you already have a lot of tools in the toolbox. That's what it sounds like. And having NLP in your toolbox is going to take you from this level to the whole another level. For sure. Okay. Xavier, anything you want to share, buddy? I'm glad that you're here. And I know Dr. Edward Harcini is on the line as well. What is it that you want to get? What is it that you want to learn? What is it, something you want to transform in your life? I know you guys are big to big things in life. So what would you like to share?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. No, so as a health and lifestyle coach, for myself, I'm looking to identify the stops, what it is that I may not be aware of, those blind spots, to be able to move through that with velocity, to become even a better coach than what it is that I am. And, I know we all have them, but just to have a new awareness of where it is at and what it is that's holding me back. So just kind of using this as a venue to really look to see, to identify what that is.
Great. Thank you, Xavier. And so
Thanks,
as a
Kevin.
health coach yourself, you're helping a lot of people already. You're a consultant for many years. You're a friend of ours. We've been in seminar rooms together, and I know what you're up to. So having these blind spots to be dissolved, how would you like that? That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what NLP is about, is be able to shed light on some of your blind spots and be able to help you to move with more with clarity and ease. So thank you for being here, Dr. Harsini. Anything you want to share as far as what is it that you want to get out of the training? I know you're participating in the NLP certification, the end of the month for the 5 days, along with Medina, and you're going to be joining me and Mark and Audra and Angie and a couple other more that they're not here today because of travel reasons. But what is it that walking into that certification, obviously investing the time and the money for 5 days, leaving your clinic, you're running a very successful clinic, a dental clinic in Phoenix, and having to leave, walk away from this for 5 days. I mean, they must have something for you that is enticing enough for you to invest that time and money for this. So could you help us, shed light on what is it that you want to accomplish out of the training? Unmute. There you go. We can hear you now. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
great. I first heard of NLP about 20 years ago through Tony Robbins, and I always had this interest in it, and I never did anything about it. I didn't take any courses, didn't attend any seminars, and a few years ago, I know you were sharing that you were involved with NLP, and when you were in Vegas, you sent a text about something. I don't know if you reached out or whatnot, and it just seems like, I'm a student of life. Like, I always like to learn new things, and so part of me was like, you know what, I'm gonna. It'll be not fun for just a waste of fun. I mean, fun is you watch a movie, but I thought it will be interesting and fascinating to learn another repertoire in my skills, and I just use it as an opportunity to learn something new. So basically, learning something new to my adding something new to my repertoire.
Absolutely. I mean, I know you for many years. We went through Landmark together. We've been in seminars, rooms together as students. I learned a lot from you. You're on the board of directors of our nonprofit Waleed's Fund, and I remember when you and I were standing outside of Landmark, and I told you I'll be going to the refugee camps, and then you told me, well, don't go empty-handed. Here's $500. Why don't you buy some clothing and whatever toys you can get for some kids? And I remember that ignited our mission. That $500 that you generously donated, I went out there to GoFundMe, and we started a campaign, and we collected around $6,000, where we not just gave clothing for this one camp, with few families, but now we went to 7 camps. I appreciate always your willingness to be generous and jumping in, and you've always been an influence for me, and I'm so glad to have you in the training as a friend and contributing to everybody here. So we got it that you want to add some more tools in your toolbox. All right, good. Anybody else want to jump in? Just please jump in. And I'm not gonna put you on the spotlight, but you want to jump in, introduce yourself, please do so. I have a chat here. Himanshu is not able to talk, but thank you. He sent me a text. He said he wants to design his life on his terms and not just be led by wherever it takes him. I love it. I love it. So you can, and this is one of the terms of NLP, that instead of being at an effect, now you want to be at cause. So you want to move away from being an effect and move towards, you want to be at cause at all times. And that is the first step into accessing your power, is moving away from being an effect of life into the cause. And NLP always move you from being an effect into cause. So how many of you are excited I know that most of you are at effect, but many times that we fall into being at effect. And that's one way in NLP is how to reprogram and recondition the mind so that we are at effect, consciously, but more importantly, unconsciously, right? Unconsciously. So we're gonna talk.
That reminds me of a story.
Yeah, go ahead. I like your stories, Mark.
so I had, you know, I thought we were going to start with metaphors, but anyhow, this is all fun. I'm having a great time with this. So I worked many years ago in a cabinet shop. I had my own cabinet shop, and I had this kid working for me who was all of 23 years old, and we were doing this job for this big law office, and we made this beautiful desk and bookcases and everything for this law office. And this lawyer was like really like top level lawyer. And, you know, he was one of those lawyers that like doesn't follow the law. He creates the laws. He's almost like a politician level of lawyer, whether you agree with that or not. So anyhow, very well-to-do, very rich office, very great environment to work in. And here we are, you know, bringing all the stuff in, loading it up into the office, and basically everything's loose and just stacked on top of each other. And as we start putting the stuff together, the lawyer actually comes in with his paralegal, and they pick like some horizontal space and they start laying out papers because he can't even be out of his office for 5 minutes. And you know, we're not paying attention to him. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to us. And my worker, as typical for 23-year-old with girlfriend and life and all this stuff, he starts to complain about this is going on and that's going on and how he's feeling bad. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do about it? And he's just like, you know, well, under the circumstances, there's not much I can do about it, right? And this lawyer, who we didn't think was paying attention at all of a sudden turns and slams papers down on the desk. And he's like, what are you doing under the circumstances, right? And he jumps up on the desk, right? And he's like towering over us. And I'm freaking out a little bit because nothing is screwed together on this desk. It's just a loose top. And this guy, like, you know, he could sue like my great-grandchildren for every penny they'll ever make if he falls. And I'm like freaking out a little bit. You know, and he's like towering over us. He's like, what are you doing under the circumstances? Get out from under the circumstances. So it's like, you know, and under those circumstances, you know, a lot of us would feel kind of at effect, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So,
which reminds me of a story, Mark, that one time I was, so I do martial arts, and one of the 4 martial arts that I do is Muay Thai, which is Thai boxing. And that was a couple of years ago, where I trained for a fight. And here I am. I need to. I got the card, and my card was I'm fighting against a guy who's 25 years old, and he had 9 MMA fights under his belt. I was like, you know, why would I even put myself in a place like that? But that's another question for another time. So here I am. There's no way back. It's like the chips are burned. You know, I'm moving forward. I start training, and now I'm cutting weight. So I need to drop from 170 to 155 to be at that weight level. And here I am now. I passed weight, and we did the whole thing, the photo shoot, and now we're facing each other in our underwears. It's weird, 2 guys just looking at each other with their boxers and all that in front of people. And then the next day we got into the ring. And before I get in the ring, I'm talking to my coach, like, you know, what should I do? Like, is there any specific strategy that I can learn so that I can just finish this fight quickly? Because this guy is like 15 years younger than I am, right? And he has more experience than I do. So are there any strategies that I can utilize while I am in this fight so that I can finish it more, you know, better and easily and more and less effort? So she looks at me, and she's this German, you know, big girl, right? And she had all these, fights in her background, and she's very strategic, and she's very, logical in her approach, and she's very soft-spoken but very powerful. And she goes, you have more power, than than he does. So get in and don't exhaust yourself. So when just move, dance with him, and then when you get the opportunity, you just use your power, right, to knock him out. I was like, okay, great. That's thank you, Dr. Phil. So I get into the ring, and the first round, it was tough. The second round, I got the round. I won the round. So he got one round. I got one round, and then the third round, so before I get in, she goes and tells me, now go in and show them how much you want it. Okay.
Right.
So
yeah. I learned this great technique for accelerated learning. I've always been a student of learning. And when I was doing sales trainings back in the day, the guy that I was working with hands me a stack of books, and you can see behind me there's a stack of books. I always have a stack of books in my life. Always learning, always trying to get new information to help people. So how do you get through all these books? Like my chiropractor tells me about this great course called photo reading. And I take the course, and that kind of got me introduced to NLP and hypnosis and all that in the first place. So that was great many years ago, going back to like 1992. And so I decided to play around with it, because photo reading is really great for text, and it's really great for information. It's really great for reading like 5 books and creating a topic. But I decide, a friend of mine is like bugging me. You got to read this book, The Celestine Prophecy, which at the time was like this big, book about spirituality and being connected. Today it's like, all about law of attraction and things like that. But this was the big book back then. And I just didn't have time to read it, especially a semi-fiction book. So I decided I'm just going to photo read the book and see what I get out of it, or what's so important that my friends keep telling me, I got to read this book. I got to read this book, So the first part of photo reading is a totally unconscious process, which basically like if you had a flash drive with a bunch of files on it and you plug it into your computer and transfer the files, that's it. All the files are there. So I download all the information from the book. I read it, and then I go to sleep. And the next morning, I wake up, and my girlfriend at the time is looking at me, and she's staring at me. And I'm like, what are you staring at me for? And she's like, what did you get? What did you get? And I'm like, what do you mean, what did I get? She, well, in the middle of the night, you jumped up and you said, that's it. I got it. And she was like really curious, like, what did I get? What did I get? And I didn't know what I got. I had to go back to the book and unpack it.
That makes a lot of sense, Mark, which I promise you this would be the last story that reminds me of, which is I was on the racetrack once, and I come in from I grew up in Lebanon, as most of you know, and rules of traffic, it doesn't really apply over there. So and I like to drive, I like to speed, and so basically the whole country is my racetrack. Here I am, I come over here and start getting in trouble. I start getting speeding tickets to a point that I got a form that I want to suspend my license. So I had to plead to the judge to give me one more chance. And on the premise that I'll start going to the racetrack, and then I showed him proof that I'm going there. This way I get my my fun on the track, not on the roads. So I go, and my first lesson was as I'm driving, and I start realizing that I'm fishtailing the car or drifting the car through the corners, right? And yes, I'm enjoying and having a lot of fun, but that's they start flagging me out. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. This is more of attraction. You may be able to go fast, not, sliding your way through. So after doing this over and over and over, and you find yourself just sliding rather than just, gripping and having control over the car and over the vehicle that you're in, now you're just, at an effect of sliding through. Yes, you're having fun, but you're not gaining time. You're losing time. Okay. So with that being said, what is NLP and why is it important? So, I'm going to remind you some of the things that are important. First, NLP is going to help you manage your state. It's going to take hold of your life, and it's going to create success in all what you do. Why should you learn it? Neuro-linguistic programming is the culmination of over 40 years of modeling excellence so that it can be taught to others. And it started with Richard Bandler and John Grinder. Do you want to give a brief, very brief history, Mark, on that?
Well, the story that I heard, and having studied with Bandler, I have no doubt that it's true, is Richard Bandler was basically a mathematician and a scientist. John Grinder was an amazing linguist. And Richard Bandler had this ability that, like, he could go and watch someone doing something excellent and pick up on the essence, the context of how they were doing it. And he would just spontaneously model it. Mm-hmm. And it was a great skill to have, but it seemed like magic. Like he was like this wonderful sorcerer who could just like come and see someone doing something excellent and then all of a sudden be able to do it himself, like to just totally pick up on it. And when he met John Grinder said, if you show me what you do, I'll tell you what you're doing. So they became this great team where Bandler could go and be so empathetic and pick up on the model of what someone was doing and duplicate their level of excellence. And then Grinder could help to unpack that and find out, what was he thinking? How was he thinking? What was the steps that he was going through in his mind and his physiology, and what was his attitude about it? And they unpacked all these little nuances and came up with the modeling process of neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro is our five senses.
We're gonna get there in a second, Mark. So practitioners have modeled excellence in communication, in influence, in rapport, conversational hypnosis, in sales, and persuasion, and therapy, and more. Okay, so you'll learn self-help techniques used by like the likes of Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Sir Richard Branson, Bill Clinton. You'll learn the skills of world-class communicators, becoming more influential and persuasive than ever been before. You're going to learn techniques of the best, including how to turn any objection to your advantage and how to close with super simple NLP 5-step process without being salesy or pushy. You learn powerful social skills, such as how to get into rapport with anyone in seconds and maintain it throughout. You're going to learn how to overcome negative emotions, such as sadness, hurt, fear, anger, and guilt. Limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. I have a client who's wants to wants to grow the business to the next level, but they have this mindset that they just don't deserve it. Okay, so we can learn some timeline interventions, conversational hypnosis, and more. There isn't a single area of life that NLP doesn't affect. So to summarize, you're going to learn how to create instantaneous hypnotic bonds with complete strangers, right? How useful would that be? Negotiate like a master and get what you want. Make people understand you with powerful communication skills. You're going to make clients want you to sell them your products and service because they're just getting a lot of benefits and value from you. Create wealth and abundance in ways you haven't even imagined. Influence and persuade others to follow your lead. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk about the NLP communication model. Okay, and what does it stand for? The Neuro-Linguistic Program. What does it stand for, and how does it work? Well, more importantly, how it works, right? I mean, it's great to have a definition, but how it works and how that's going to be implemented in your own life. So, maybe we can tag teams on this one here. Mark and I and Ariel. Ariel, if you want to jump in as well, so we can each one's would. So
I got a quick line from a song by the Eagles that so oftentimes it happens, we live our lives in chains and we never even realize we have the key. So I think this NLP model of communication is really the key to kind of unlocking the superpowers of our own mind and the way that we communicate with each other and the way that we take in information from the outside world and how we process it. Would you agree, Cal?
I agree, definitely.
Okay, cool. So Ariel, do you want to jump in on anything?
Yeah, what I want to share is now the science has proven like there's mind body is the same thing. Like for us to heal our body, it's 99.99% it comes from our mind. for people who's interested in healing. And from our body, from our mind, we also get to connect with our higher self, which is our universe, like a super conscious power. We don't teach about that in NLP, but you feel the power through the process, that how quickly things can change. Therapies don't take 20 years. It can take just 5 minutes and things would change immediately because we get power from outside ourselves. And then that's really what NLP is about. It's not just, yes, you learn the procedure, but once you start using it, once you start mastering it, you see dramatic changes in your life.
Absolutely. So neuro stands for the nervous system, which is the mind, through which our experience is processed via 5 senses, right? So visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. Olfactory is where you're able to smell. Gustatory will be able to taste. Okay, so these are the 5 senses we have. So we receive the world. I'm going to show you here in a picture how that makes sense. So linguistic, Mark.
Yeah. Linguistics is language, the way that we process or make sense of something, you know, and we label things. We label things a book, a chair, a table, and it helps us to make sense of the world around us. We label feelings like love and excitement and enthusiasm and motivation. So these words are packed with meaning that can affect our understanding and our interacting with the world around us through the words that we use.
Mm-hmm. So
that's linguistics.
Definitely. So with the 5 senses, or everything that we perceive from the world, we make pictures, we encode it in our brain through pictures, sounds, feelings, taste, smells, but also in inner dialogue, right? So, and you know, the little voice in our head, that's that little inner dialogue. How many of you have, you know, are aware of your inner dialogue, the little voice in your head, by show of hands? Okay. How many of you sometimes that inner voice in your head that's not serving you? It's not saying things that are empowering. Like you're driving from work to home, and that little voice goes, "Oh, you're so great," right? I mean, I wish that was the case all the time, right? Many times it's like, "Oh, you're not good
Sometimes.
enough, stupid. How would you do this? Why didn't you say that?" You know, and I found myself guilty of that at times, and I had to stop myself. So, you know, that inner dialogue, how many of you would like to be able to change that and be able to have a different voice? How many of you, that little voice in your head, as you're thinking about it, it reminds you of someone that you know? Or maybe it sounds like someone you know. Or maybe it feels like someone you know. What's that?
No, sorry, my dogs are barking.
Oh. So he's agreeing. He's agreeing.
No, I'm agreeing. No, I thought I was not on mute, and they're barking in background. So I was like, holy shit, that must be loud for you guys. Sorry.
So there are times we have a good day, and there are times we have a bad day, right? So what makes it, you know, how do you do that? How do you have a good day? How do you have a bad day? Like how are you able to do that? How are you able to create that in your mindset? How do you make that distinction? That's the real question that we should be asking. And a lot of times that inner voice, you know, it gives us the answer, but it's not necessarily the best answer. So we have to create a new version of that inner voice, or a way of interacting with that voice, or say, hey, great, you know, thank you for sharing. And, you know, now here's the meaning that I want to make from this situation. I don't want it to be a bad day because that voice in my head said, oh shoot, this happened and that happened and this happened, and now it's a bad day. So information comes in, right? And do you want to explain how we can filter out some of that information, Cal?
Yeah, I want to explain that, Mark. And that's where the third piece comes in, which is a programming. Now, first, you know, you realize you perceive the world, right, through your 5 senses. You make pictures, you make sounds, you have feelings about it, right? Now you decide, this is not serving me. What do I want instead? And now when you realize and identify what you want instead, the third step, which is the programming piece, I want to program that. Now you want to program it so that it's installed subconsciously. You don't have to think about it right now. So that you are on an automatic pilot. Okay, how many of you would like to be on automatic pilot in certain things that, you know, in your life that you want to change, rather than you just keep thinking about it, right? It makes sense, wouldn't it? So
can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Majority, 99% of our program is downloaded between age from 0 to 7. That's when we're kind of running around without our critical faculty. We don't have a conscious mind really formed yet. So we're really running around like in a hypnotic state in this delta and the theta wave, where we're just download everything from our surroundings, mainly through our parents and our close friends. And without changing anything, like at around age 7, where we start having this critical faculty, we're not downloading things anymore. Like then our unconscious mind just runs itself. Then we go onto autopilot. And then that's when we find, like, sometimes we do things where people are like, oh, you act just like your parents. We're like, no, I'm not. But like your unconscious just automatically run it. And something, maybe if it doesn't serve us, we really want to erase it and reprogram it. And NLP, it's a language that teaches us how to program our unconscious mind, therefore our behavior, therefore our life.
Absolutely. So
So wouldn't it be cool to be in that hypnotic state more often as an adult, to be able to reprogram our mind in the way that we want to?
Yeah, it's a super learning.
Might be useful.
Yeah, definitely.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yes. So
all right, go for it.
So I have an exercise to show people awareness. Do you want to do that now, or you want to wait on that?
Yeah, let's just wait after this. So what we're gonna do right now? So we'll look at this this image right here in front of you. Okay. So you see external events come in. Okay. And it usually we're bombarded by things like 2.3 million bits of information per second, right? Just, we're bombarded with all this information. Our brain cannot, process all that information. You know what I mean, right? And then when it goes through our critical faculties, our brain can only focus on 5 to 9 bits of information in a specific moment, in a specific second, right? So when that happens, that's when the brain needs to decide what is important from all that information, so that it will focus on, right? It's what you focus on. And it goes through the process of deleting information, distorting information, or generalizing information, right? And chunking it down into bits that will be able to process. So that's where the magic number of 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information that we can process in any specific second. So with that being said, we're bombarded with our information, and that's going to shape our language, our memories, our decisions, our meta programs, which means like what are we motivated by, our values, beliefs, and our attitudes, and we make an internal representation. Okay, so you want to take it from there?
Yeah. So I'm going to do a quick exercise with everybody, and this will help you to realize the capacity of your conscious mind versus the capacity of your other than conscious mind. So what I'd like you to do is look around your room and notice, there's different objects you can see, the amount of light in the room, the different colors that you see. You can feel the temperature of the air on your skin. You can feel what your hands are touching right now. You can feel the movement of the chair that you're sitting in. You could hear the sound of my voice. You could hear sounds that are going on in the room. You could hear sounds from outside the house. You could smell perfume or a food that you cooked earlier, or you could taste something that you ate earlier today. Now, what was the fifth one again?
I'm lost.
So what I just did is I overloaded you with about 12 things, right? And only 12, right? But so the fifth one was what are your hands touching, or what are your hands feeling right now? And I remember that only because I do it in the same order every time, so I don't trip myself up. So the thing is, we filter out information, but how do we do that? We do it by the questions that we ask ourselves. So now let's do another quick exercise. Look around your room and notice everything in the room that's blue. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And now close your eyes and answer this question. What in the room is yellow? Right? you had like 3, maybe 4 or 5 answers. You can open your eyes now of what was blue, but you didn't necessarily have an idea of what was yellow because you weren't filtering for that. And on a chromatic scale, yellow is kind of the opposite of blue. So we almost looking for blue, we're filtering out yellow. So the questions that we ask ourselves, you know, when we're in a good mood or a bad mood, a good day or a bad day, what are we doing, you know, to delete information on that communication model? We're deleting a ton of information. We have to do that because there's 2.3 million bits of information per second coming in. And like Cal was saying, we can only pay attention to 7 plus or minus 2. So between 5 and 9. And I think for most people, that's on a good day, the 5 to 9. Some people, it's maybe 2 or 3, even though we're multitasking individuals. But the real question is, how often out of your day are you focused on just one thing at a time? You know, and that's really where NLP and hypnosis and all these tools can help you to focus in on one thing at a time, which is what you want, right? So you can utilize this wonderful skill that we have of deleting and distorting information and generalizing information to accomplish great change in your life.
Absolutely. So now it goes through this filter. We delete, we distort, we generalize, and now we have an internal representation of that experience. Okay. So it's like something that happens, and now it's registered in our brain. It's programmed in our brain to mean certain things. And that internal representation, it has a picture, it has a sound, it has a feeling, it has a smell, it could maybe have even a taste. And that representation, it have a specific state, an emotional state that is associated with it, okay? And with that state, it impacts our physiology, our body language, and also it impacts our behavior. So for example, instead of me telling you about, why don't we just, you know, experience it in our bodies for a moment, okay? So if anybody is not driving, what I would like to do right now, if you would, well, first, do you want to do an exercise so that you can experience it? By show of hands, how many of you want to do an exercise? Yes? All right, very good. Thank you. So what I'd like to do right now, if you would, just make sure you're not driving. What I'd like to do is close your eyes for a moment. Okay, close your eyes and remember a time, a specific time when you felt, when you just a mild bother, something that bothered you, a mild bother, nothing extreme, okay, just a mild bother, okay? And as you seeing it, as you have it, do you have a picture for this experience? Okay, and what are you hearing? Do you have a sound that associated with it? Are there any hearings? Do you have any sounds associated with it? And what feelings are associated with that experience? Where do you feel it in your body? If you get to point out in your body, where do you feel it? Okay. Are there any specific smells or taste? Maybe, maybe not, right? But whatever there is there, it's registered there in that form, in that experience. Okay. Now, what I would like to do right now, if you would, is I want you to, in that picture, whatever that is, make it black and white. Okay. Now, did that make the emotion more intense or less intense? If it's less intense, keep it. Okay. If it's more intense, okay, then just, you know, if it's less intense, go ahead and change it to black and white. If it's more intense, make sure that to keep the way it was, okay? Now, bring it further away in the distance. Move that picture further away in the distance. Did that make the emotions more intense or less intense? Play with it, okay? Now make it smaller and bring it down to the left, lower left corner, right? In your screen, from your mind's eye. Now, did that make the emotions more intense or less intense? Okay? So this is just like very few things. So, you know, be in that process. Now come back here, right? And now how many of you, by show of hands, notice now as you're thinking about it, now as you think about that specific event, the mild bother, okay, think about it right now, okay? Does that have the same impact of feelings, more or less? How many of you find it that it has now less impact, by show of hands? Yes? Absolutely. Now imagine how much you can do with that technology. So that experience is registered and it's programmed in your brain to have a specific picture, specific color, specific sounds associated with it. We haven't played with that yet, and specific feelings that we also haven't played with it yet. All what we did is visually, we changed how it's programmed. Instead of having it colored, we made it black and white. Instead of to be big, we made it small. Instead of having it close to us, we pushed it far in the distance. And instead of being in the center of the screen, we moved it to the lower left corner of the screen. And just moving just a little bit of those, what we call them submodalities, which you're going to learn about it more in the certification training, is you can change how the experience is programmed in our brain into our internal representation, so that now the state, which you can see here on the screen, the state will change. How you feel about it will change. And why would that be important, is how you feel about it? Because how you feel about something is gonna impact your behavior. It's now your behavior. How many of you find it more empowering or less empowering to be in a upstate when you're doing a behavior, right? It's more empowering to you have a better results if you are coming from a more empowering state, wouldn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Good. So with that being said, now think of a specific time when you are motivated, right? So you're very motivated. Did you remember a time in your life when you were extremely motivated? That's right. And as you do, remember a specific time, and now do you have a picture associated with that? Yeah, that's it. Okay, and as you're thinking about that, okay, make the picture bigger now. Yeah, bring it closer to you. Make it colorful, more colorful, like Technicolor. That's it. And even make it like a movie. Instead of a still picture, make it like a movie now. Panoramic. And play some like really cool music in the background, like a music that it just pumps you up. Like one of your favorite songs. Like loud, right? Right in the background. That's right. Yeah. And now allow all the feelings to flood throughout your body, from the top of your head all the way down to the tip of your toes. Feeling the feelings of being completely motivated. That's it. Okay, good. Now, check this out. What I would like to do right now is I want you to step out of that picture. Step out of the picture, watching yourself in the picture. Step out of the picture, watching you in that movie. Now, did the motivation go up or did it go down? Most likely it went down, didn't it? Because now you're looking at it from a third party versus you are looking at it from your own eyes. Now step back into the picture, looking at it from your own eyes, and notice how the feelings went back up, didn't it? Yeah? How many of you, by show of hands, the emotions went higher when you are looking at it from your own eyes rather than you looking at it from a third party? Right? So now imagine what you can do with the state, where your state, how you can change your state by just playing with how the experience is programmed. So Ariel, Mark, do you want to add anything to it? We have
so
we have 8 more minutes, so we're gonna wrap up here in 5, and then we're gonna give it.
And I want to finish my story too. So, but not yet. So we have information that comes in from the external environment, from outside of ourselves, and that can control our state, or as Cal just demonstrated, we have the opportunity to control our state by the pictures and the representation, the internal representation that we make. So this external information comes in, we have all these sensory filters, we do some internal processing, we can store the information, how we represent it. We can retrieve this information, as you just did, bring up this wonderful state, and then create a new internal representation that's filtered to have just the elements that we want in that gives us feedback from our environment. And then we can then take that and put it towards the action that we want. So part of the programming of NLP is to create these patterns or these habits and this way of acting or reacting to the world around us. So ideally, we want to be proactive. We want to be able to control our actions. But unfortunately, in the real world, we have things that happen to us, and because these things happen to us, we can choose to act or react to it. And the thing is, our natural response, our knee-jerk reaction, so to say, is to respond to the environmental stimulus. So why not program ourselves to have the best response to that, the best, most wonderful feedback loop inside of our own mind to create an internal representation. Instead of assuming the worst of what someone's doing or saying, we assume the best, and we act upon that.
That's right, Mark. So by now, you may be wondering how many ways you can use that in your own life to help to change your life and help the lives of others, aren't you? And you may be also, you may have like 2 or 3 questions are now popping up that you just want to share or ask these questions. So if you are thinking of that now, then go ahead and ask. So we're going to give you an opportunity to ask some questions that we'll be able to answer in the next 5 minutes. So what questions do you have? And you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Or what learnings or
oh yeah, what learning?
Or what do we need to know?
Yeah.
We need to know feedback. Give us
Anything.
Feedback.
Anything. What did you get? Yeah, go ahead, Danny. I see that you're moving hand.
So I know that we're programming like perception of specific memories of motivation and frustration in our lives. Does this also work for other aspects? Like, say, if I was to think about a person or something else, could I bring light around that person or something like that to enhance, I don't know, my programming and relationships and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You affect yourself by the way that you're representing that information about that other person. So you see the other person and it brings up a feeling inside of you, and you can determine what feeling you want to have about that, and you can make shifts in how you represent that person. Like, like we all have someone in our life that give us that look, and like they gave me the look, but it's just a look, and we can create whatever meaning we want from it. Maybe they were just having a bad day, or maybe they really did mean something negative. But before getting anxious about that, you can decide, well, let me give the person the best, most positive opportunity, and say what could they be representing, or ask them specifically to get into it, and then create a better representation in your mind. Would that be useful?
That's super useful. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions before we wrap it up? We have like 4 minutes. Anybody? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just excited, looking forward to the process. It's pretty fascinating. I'm looking, I didn't have a lot of expectations. I thought it would be an interesting process to go through, but from last week's and even today's, it's pretty exciting.
Well, and we're only just this little walking in, so get ready to immerse yourself in the power of learning, and learning can be fun, can it? Ariel, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just it's very exciting. And then I guess from NLP, we really touched the little surface, and we're gonna learn so many. We haven't got into it, but presupposition that will change how you view the world. Like one thing with NLP, it's called the map is not the territory. The map is not a territory. So the map to link back to the definition, the map is our language, how we define the world, but it doesn't represent exactly what happens. Like when you drive around, like you see trees, you see forests, and you see ocean, the map doesn't do any of that. It's just a piece of paper. And that's what NLP, it teaches you how to really like build your map around the territory and really see what it is, how things are. And have the capacity to have locus of control, so you can control your environment. And eventually we're going to talk about projection is perception. Mm-hmm. and how you can change yourself by changing your own belief, changing your own state, and therefore shift your environment, shift your reality. It's very, very exciting. I know you guys are all excited about this, and it's great to learn NLP. And the more you learn it, the more excited you are about it.
That's right. There
Cool.
you go.
I'm excited. I'm excited to learn how that event turned out for you, Cal, with your
story. Yes. So thank you for reminding me. So remember I was talking to you about, I was drifting the car. With that car was just drifting. I am excited. I'm just like having fun, but I'm losing time, and other cars are passing me because I'm just enjoying the moment rather than just focusing on what is the goal and objective, which is, gain speed. So the instructor, got with me in the car, and he said, okay, now go ahead and drift the car. So walk in and drive in the corner and now drift the car. So here I am. I just like do this double bump, right? Boom, boom. And then now the car is just drifting sideways, right? And he's told me, now look towards where you want to go. And immediately as I'm looking towards where I want to go, the car, it just went after it. The vehicle just took me there, took me in the direction of where my eyes are going.
Right. So I pick up the book, The Celestine Prophecy, and I'm curious now. I'm like, what did I get? I have no idea what I got. Right. So I just open up the book randomly to a page, and I look at where my thumb is pointing on the page, and I start to read that, when you come to a crossroads in life, as he does in the story, his master taught him the best way to choose which direction you want to go is to put yourself in the state of love. He goes, so he looks down one path, and one path looks, kind of beautiful with flowers, and the other path looks kind of gray with rocks. But then he puts himself in the state of love. And when he puts himself in the state of love, the obvious choice seems not so obvious anymore. And he starts to notice the path with the rocks that seemed less obvious as the state of love. He starts to see all kinds of different colors in the rocks, and he looks further down the road and sees the horizon and beautiful lake and water and trees, and he decides that's a path to go, and he takes that path and meets up with his friends, and it's really the best path of spirituality for him.
Which was my story in the ring with the MMA fighter. And as I'm just, in the third round, I walked in and I'm just giving everything I got. I want to show them, I want to show the referees that I really, really want it. So I realized myself, like I'm having this energy that I thought I already gassed out, but now I found it that I have, it's like you find you have your more energy than what you ever think. Your body always perform more than what you ever think. Once you have that state in mind and just walk in and you find yourself doing things, performing more than you ever think. And though that I lost that fight on what they call it is points, right? Yet I won the battle against myself, against my little voice in my head that was putting doubts in me. Is like, I can't win this. I mean, this guy is like so much like experience, he's younger, all that stuff. But he, we lost on 2 points. I lost on 2 points only. So it's more important than winning the actual battle is winning the battle against yourself. And that battle against yourself is the most important battle, isn't it? And once you're able to win against the battle of your own mind, you are now a victor, aren't you?
So what are you doing under those circumstances? This lawyer was towering over us, asking us, what are you doing under the circumstances? And, I don't know exactly what this kid working for me got from it, but I tell you, it was one of the biggest life lessons that I got from this is that, he's towering over us saying, do you think where I got was because I was under the circumstances, or do you think that I create the circumstances of my life? Do you want to create the circumstances of your life, or do you want to be under the circumstances? What do you want to do? Who's in control? Who makes the choices? Who controls your state of mind? Okay. You can stand up straighter, change your physiology, change that internal representation you have, and go out there and create the circumstances that you want in your life. And that's the wonderful power that led me to study NLP. It led me to look at all the great people that were creating circumstances in their life rather than being under the circumstances. This lawyer was one of the first people that I had the opportunity to spontaneously model and see, wow, this is how this guy has a very different, I was shy, I was reserved, I was like, sit back, and I was almost like a little bit in the way of this kid that was working for me under the circumstances. But now I had this attitude, I wanted to learn how to create the circumstances. I wanted to learn how to be more proactive. And, you know, that led me to study the field of NLP and hypnosis and all these wonderful things. And now I help people to take new actions by creating a new representation in their mind of the external world. And you can just go out there and accomplish anything that you want to do, especially if someone else in the world has ever done it before. You can model that information. And I think that's one of the beautiful powers of NLP.
That's
Don't
right,
you?
Mark. I do think so. Thank you all for the energy that you put in here today. It was great to hear your voices and see your beautiful faces. And so what we talked about today was the NLP communication model. We learned about how we perceive the reality from our 5 senses. We make an internal representation, and based on that internal representation, it dictates how we feel about it, and it dictates how our behavior is around it. So once we change the internal representation, which we gave you an example how you can play with it, now you can change how you feel, which means you can change how you behave around it, which really means that you change the results and the outcomes. And that's what you want, don't you? So thanks again. And until next Wednesday, be fearless, be like water, and go ahead and try to play with this, just, you know, with your internal representation, and be aware of your environment. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Cal.
Welcome.
Okay.